Backslide by Black K Cat. Chapter 28. Clash. The Kumo team, as it turns out, is carrying an Earth Scroll. Sasuke is entirely satisfied with life right now. Chakra makes a cheerful, contented noise as she watches Naruto seal their newly acquired scroll away, arms crossed over her chest and expression smug. Easier than I thought it would be, she offers, arching a superior brow at the 3 Kumo genin on the ground, 2 out cold, and the last groaning faintly. Sasuke surveys the one he took out, obviously they're a Taijutsu specialist and no match at all for someone with a Sharingan, and then switches his gaze to Naruto's, buried up to his chin in the ground. And then Sakura's, the groaner, who's sporting a black eye the size of a grapefruit and a lump on his head the size of a fist. Sakura's fist, to be precise. Now we head for the tower, Sasuke says, feeling a faint thrill of satisfaction at the thought that they might actually win this. Might actually manage to break records and show people that they have potential. Because he knows it. Sakura and Naruto know it. Their teachers know it. But to everyone else, they're still the team they were those first few weeks after graduation. Think we'll be the first ones there? Naruto asks with a grin, looking just as smug as their Kunoichi teammate. It takes great effort to keep from rolling his eyes. Not if we don't go, he points out. We're going, Sakura says exasperatedly, tugging her metal-plated gloves into place a bit more firmly. From here, west, right? Naruto nods, opening his mouth to add something else, but before he can, something crashes in the underbrush and all 3 genin go stiff, spinning with their hands on their weapons. Sasuke's katana is in his grip, and he's ready to activate his Sharingan at a moment, while Sakura has dropped into her best Taijutsu stance, and Naruto has palmed a handful of kunai with explosive attacks. They step back a little, falling into the defensive formation they've practiced so many times. Another wrestle, a strange hiss, and there's a flicker of white through the bushes half an instant before 2 fox shapes, one massive and black, and the other tall and silver, streak past the 3 genin with a vicious snarl and hurl themselves at the thing. A wordless roar is the response, and out of the undergrowth rises a vast white snake, too large to be anything but a summons, even in the forest of death. Summons, Sasuke thinks, even as he falls back, drags his teammates along with him, and right out of the clearing. That means someone summoned it. Most genin can't do that, so who? And why are Kurama's summons getting involved? And then the killing intent hits. It's like being killed. Like watching his team be slaughtered around him and not being able to move. Like that night of the massacre all over again. And then it's over, gone completely, and Sasuke finds himself shaking and sweaty and half supporting, half being supported by Naruto as Sakura clings to his other arm. That Kunoichi from Kusa is in front of them, smiling lightly, but it's nothing like the warm expression Kurama sports when he's distracted. This is malicious and sadistic and a promise of a painful death. Ah, she says, as Sasuke's never seen as that cold before. Not even Itachi's that night. And here I thought I was going to propose a battle to the death for our scrolls. But it seems as though you've already gotten both of those you need. Shame, but something's strange. This is a team test, but there's no team around. For that matter, Sasuke can't sense any chakra nearby beyond the summons behind them. So what is this? What's Uchiha Sasuke? She, the Kunoichi, murmurs, and what should sound like a feminine purr is instead the low rasp of a snake sliding across dry ground. The last loyal Uchiha. But how loyal are you, really? If I tell you that I can give you the power to kill your brother, what will you do? Sasuke goes entirely stiff and still, breath frozen in his lungs and heart suddenly pounding in his chest. Revenge is all he's wanted for years now. Revenge and power, and to slaughter the man he once loved most. But aren't you a ninja, Uchiha? Hasn't anyone ever told you to look underneath the underneath? Or do you really think that the same brother who gave you piggyback rides when you were too tired to walk suddenly snapped and killed everyone for no reason? No, he doesn't think that at all. So many nights since Kurama said that to him, he's lain awake, turning the matter over and over in his mind, and he doesn't believe that of Itachi in the least. Maybe Itachi did it to test his strength, but for all the stock put in the Sharingan, it was far from universal, even in pure-blooded Uchiha. There weren't that many. Surely, for such a test of strength, Itachi could have killed Hyuga with their handful of geniuses and strong clan heads, or gone after the Hokage, the god of shinobi, or even the Sannin, scattered as they were. But instead, he'd chosen the Uchiha clan. It's possible Sasuke was simply grasping at the slim bit of hope Kurama offered him with those words, but what if he's not? What if he's right? Revenge is a base and mindless thing, and Sasuke won't let it rule him. He'll keep a clear head, a steady hand, and even if he's right, even if he can't ever forgive his brother for his actions, but still understands a reason for them, he won't lose sight of that. He takes a step back, another, until his shoulders are pressed right up against Naruto's, until Sakura's soft pink braid is brushing his arm and meets the Kusa Kunoichi's gaze with a grim and steady determination. "I'll tell you to get out of our way," he says with a bravado he doesn't feel. "We have an exam record to beat." If anything, the woman looks more amused, lips pulling into a smirk that manages to look alien and eerie. "You really are brothers, aren't you? I sense a power in your eyes, Sasuke-kun, that will surpass even Itachi's." That's enough to put Sasuke's hackles up. Subtly flattering, calculated to unnerve, and delivered with just the right amount of admiration and condescension in equal measure to make him see the vast majority of shinobi are good at psychological warfare. But that was the work of a master, and were he not already on guard against such things, Sasuke might have been swayed. "Who are you?" he barks out, grip tightening around his sword's hilt, even as Naruto leans in, presses against him just a little more firmly. The woman smiles more widely, raising her hands and twisting them into a strange seal. "My name is Orochimaru." It's obvious he means to go on, but Sasuke's heard enough. Orochimaru is a missing-nin, S-rank, and incredibly dangerous, the former student of the Hokage and considered a true genius of the kind born only once a generation. He leaps back, trying to put space between them, feels Naruto and Sakura flank him, and sees the snake in his eyes narrow sharply. In a rush, his head shoots forward, neck suddenly as extendable and flexible as rubber, and he's too fast. They're too slow, only genin for all they've trained, all the preparation they put into this exam. Sasuke watches Orochimaru's face come closer and closer, dread in his chest, because whatever this infamous missing-nin wants, it likely won't be in his best interest, but... And then Orochimaru jerks out of the way, twists to the side as his body snaps back to normal, and a handful of shuriken embed themselves in the ground where he had been standing. A sudden flash of red hair and Kurama lands in front of him, crouched and ready, eyes fixed on the missing-nin and Kaze already in hand. There's a long beat of silence as Kurama rises smoothly to his feet, twisting and settling into a kenjutsu stance, katana raised in one hand and a scrap of white paper in the other. Orochimaru's eyes narrow further, and he takes a slow, deliberate step forward. "Shoo!" he hisses. From this angle, Sasuke can just make out Kurama's small, chilly smile and burning blue eyes. "Me," he agrees, and his light tone belies the tension in his frame. "Uzumaki Kurama, bounty hunter. And I think, Orochimaru of Otogakare, that is well past time I take your head." Kurama, Sasuke reflects with a breathless sort of wonder that's caught between relief and awe, is very, very good at dramatic entrances. Laughter, high and mocking and derisive. "Boy, you would think to challenge the strongest of the Sannin, I am the very closest to immortal that anyone can come." Kurama's soft snort somehow sounds very loud in the vastness of the forest. "I've killed those who claim to be immortal before," he says flatly. "Tell me, when you were in Akatsuki, had a Dan joined? Shall I tell you all the things he spat at me as I removed his head?" His next smile is absolutely chilling. He probably took a while to starve to death. You see, Snake, that's the problem with people who want to be more than human. They never seem to notice just how less than human they become in the process. If you're of the same mind, I'll take great pleasure in showing you just how wrong you are. Orochimaru hisses, sharp with fury, and leaps forward, fingers flying in a jutsu that explodes away in a vast gout of flame. But Kurama is already moving, gone from that spot, even as 3 more perfect copies of himself split away. He whirls right in front of the snake Sannin, and fast, blindingly so, air like blades ripping away from his fingers. The seals on his arms are glowing, just faintly, bits of indigo and glittering black falling away as he swings around in a scything kick that trails water liquid that spins out in a thundering vortex. It slams full force into an earthen wall that springs up at Orochimaru's gesture, but both shinobi are already on the other side of the clearing. Ginkaze flashes brilliant in the half-light again and again. A silver streak that Orochimaru only just manages to avoid as he flicks jutsus at the redhead, who dodges like they're merely dancing. There's wind coating the blade, a bare edge of it visible. But when Orochimaru dodges at the last moment and the katana glances over the trunk of a tree, it leaves a gouge behind that Sasuke could likely fit his whole arm into. They fly up into the branches, Orochimaru seeking the higher ground, and Kurama pursuing relentlessly, and Kurama is just the faintest bit faster than his opponent, a touch quicker and more agile. For all that Orochimaru can bend like his bones have vanished. He catches the snake standing in the gap between branches, presses him back with his sword, and another angry rush of water, and then spins in through the dancing droplets, eyes blazing blue and hair glowing like embers. Death carved into the tight lines of his expression. Ginkaze strikes and Orochimaru blocks with the kunai, and just for an instant, they're face to face with maybe 3 inches between them. Kurama smiles. Faster than Sasuke has ever seen him move, so fast that it blurs into nothing but a streak of black ink seals and golden skin. Kurama lashes out with his left hand and the scrap of paper that's still there. Too fast to dodge again, and Orochimaru screams when the seal there sears into his flesh with a crackle of angry violet chakra. He falls back, clutching his shoulder, but Sasuke's attention is only on Kurama and the vicious, painful satisfaction carved into his face. That, he says, so low and fierce, it's more like distant thunder than the voice of a man, was for the man I loved, who you took away from me. Sasuke's breath catches, because that wild look is grief, but aged and tempered and built upon, the kind that smolders rather than festers, outlasts ages and enemies and other loves. It's terrifying. Orochimaru is breathing raggedly, hand pressed over the seal, but he snarls, "Boy, what have you done?" Kurama bares his teeth at him, savagely satisfied. "Bound your soul to that body," he replies, his tone deceptively light and sweet. "I hope you're fond of it, Orochimaru, because you'll never get another one. No more switching bodies, no more hopping from one to another. Do you know how long it took me to design a seal like that? To make something that you'll never be able to counter? And yet every moment I spent on that thing is worth it!" A wordless scream of rage is his answer, and Orochimaru explodes forward, jutsus flying from his fingers too fast to see, let alone counter, and Kurama falls back. He's smiling, even as fire scorches his skin, as wind cuts deep into his arm, and lightning makes his whole body shake. The snake Sannin is twice as vicious now, twice as deadly, and Kurama is holding his own, but Sasuke can see blood in the air. For every 3 blocked hits, 1 lands, and there's little the redhead can do beyond defend. And then, out of nowhere, a black and red shape streaks across the clearing and collides directly with Kurama, knocking him away. Kurama's eyes widen sharply, and a single choked sound is all that he manages before the unfamiliar nin disappears into the trees. "Run!" Sasuke thinks he was trying to say, and feels a chill settles into his bones. Something rumbles through the air, getting louder and louder, until Orochimaru throws his head back, laughter ringing bright and contemptuous through the forest. "Ah, little boy, it's always best to keep track of all your enemies," he gloats, and turns to favor the 3 genin with a nasty grin. Now, where were we, Sasuke-kun? "There's an S-class fight taking place in the Forest of Death," Kakashi can feel the chakra in the air, feels it explode like a bomb from within the testing grounds, and knows in an instant that this is no fight between genin, not unless someone snuck a couple of kage in under some really good hedges. He tenses, freezes in place halfway between the academy and Konoha proper, and then spins, eyes darting towards the forest just in time to see a surge of violet light rise above the treetops and then retreat. At his side, Genma makes a noise rather like a wounded tiger. What? The Tokujo says darkly, are the odds that he's safe with Tsunade-sama, and there's just some other S-class shinobi with purple chakra. Kakashi gives him the look that deserves, even as Raido mutters, sucker bet. Pass. Go, he orders the two Tokujo. Get to the Hokage and make sure he's safe. And you? Raido asks, though the look in his eyes says he already knows. With a grim smile, Kakashi turns on his heel and calls up his chakra. My team's in there, he says simply. And, Kurama, where do you think I'm going? A Shunshin takes him almost to the edge of Training Ground 44, and then another takes him into it. The scent is clear. Team 7 is making no attempt to hide. And regardless, the fight ahead is like a beacon, putting out enough chakra to kill most shinobi twice over. Pulse beating a relentless tattoo underneath his skin. Heart a too large lump of lead pounding futilely in his chest. Kakashi runs. He passes a genin team, a boy with hair as red as Kurama's who's watching him with wide, flat eyes, but pays them no mind. All he can think about is Naruto with his father's heart and his mother's vivacity. And a shining brilliance all his own. Sasuke, so strong and usually solemn, but with flashes of humor and hope like quicksilver and heat lightning. Sakura and her immense strength and steady heart, her common sense and grounding personality. Kurama, with his big heart and warm smiles and quiet, unwavering power, the grief in his eyes that only rarely wins out against the brightness. So much brightness, too, so very much that it spills over like water from a fountain, sweeping over all those nearby in a warm and comforting flood, to sweep away worries and troubles. He can't lose them. Won't lose them. It will break him utterly if he does. Something explodes ahead of him, hot and dry like fire, and Kakashi redoubles his pace. He bursts into the fight, just in time to see Kurama go flying back, slamming into a thick tree, hard enough to leave a dent in the wood, and doesn't hesitate. Chidori crackles to life like 1,000 crying birds, and Kakashi lunges toward the figure in the middle of the clearing. A man in a black cloak with red clouds and an orange mask. It should be impossible to dodge. Chidori is an assassination technique, deadly and so very, very swift, perfected over years of missions in and out of Anbu. The only technique Kakashi has that he invented himself is a good one, practically flawless outside of the amount of chakra that it requires. But that's fine, it doesn't matter. He's never ever needed to use it twice in a row before. But the man turns, and in the bare half heartbeat before he strikes, Kakashi can make out the glitter of a red and black eye in the dimness. The man steps aside, as only a Sharingan user could, and instead of his chest, the Chidori plows into a tree and shatters it with a scream of wooden chakra. His back is open, unprotected, and Kakashi can hear the rush of approaching footsteps. Even if he can't turn in time to meet them, he tries regardless, twists around with a kunai in his hand and a snarl on his lips, and is just in time to get a face full of red hair as Kurama throws himself in between him and the oncoming shinobi. Blades sing as they meet, kunai and katana, and the masked man makes a wordless noise of rage. Hi, honey, Kakashi says lazily, eyeing their opponent carefully, and then reaching up to pull his hitayate out of the way. How's your day going? Kurama makes a sound that's a little too breathless to be laughter, but that tries regardless. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura is what he says, though. They've been cornered. Orochimaru. I don't think he'll kill them, but he wants Sasuke, and there's no choice in the matter. Kurama looks battered and weary, and he's brought out something that looks suspiciously like Sagemo, but he's also a trained shinobi and an S-class fighter, and the genin are facing one of the Sannin alone. Right, he says, and makes the leap away. But before he can, another figure is there. A man in an Anbu uniform and crow mask that Kakashi knows belongs to a kunoichi named Mio, with his long black hair pulled into a loose tail. He's carrying a katana as well, and one streaking blow from it has the orange-masked man leaping backwards. I will see to my brother, the false Anbu says. Orochimaru has been weakened and will be easy to handle. Kakashi stiffens because he knows that voice. He makes the move, but a gentle hand on top of his chest stops him in his tracks. Kurama flicks him a quick darting glance and then inclines his head to the brunette. Thank you, Itachi-san, he says. Please, go quickly. The traitor, the murderer of his entire clan, inclines his head and blurs away. Kurama? Kakashi asks sharply, because he knows Kurama wouldn't put Naruto or Sakura or Sasuke in danger, but Itachi slaughtered his own family! And there's more to what happened that night than people have been told. Kurama answers softly and then raises his voice. Isn't that right, Tobi? Or should I call you Madara right now? A low, rough chuckle is his response, and the man disappears completely. Kakashi spins, all senses open, but he's gone as if he never existed at all, not even a trace of chakra, and he brings his kunai up just in time to block, but a second later something grabs his ankle. Before he can so much as shout, he's overwhelmed, buried by a sudden rush of roots and branches that bear him to the ground, snarling and fighting as he does. Kurama cries out his name and then yelps, and the coppery scent of blood leaks into the air as metal meets metal again. Two jutsus crash together, water and fire meeting with a steaming, searing hiss, and then chakra flickers again and the man is gone. Kakashi tears at the roots, holding him, winding around his neck and squeezing every last bit of breath from him. His heart in his throat when he realizes that even the 2-to-1 odds mean absolutely nothing when they can never land a hit. And Kurama is still out there, still fighting when Kakashi is trapped. If he dies, then it will be the end of so very much, and all of it good. That chakra flicker is strangely familiar, but at the same time, nothing Kakashi has felt before, and a rush of footsteps, a cry, all bravado and challenge, and a clang of sword on kunai, another rush of fire, and then the sickening, unmistakable noise of tearing flesh, the metallic reek of spilling blood is so much, too much, to be anything less than a grave wound. And then a breathless sort of pained noise. Kurama, Kakashi thinks as the world darkens and begins to swim. Kurama! Then everything is gone, and only blackness remains.